Yes, indeed. Let's get this microphone in place. It's time for another episode of the Daily Bread Project. We are going to have a guest today, another one of the podcast factory family. In fact, the other half of Grandma's Wealth Wisdom, Mr. Brandon Neely, is going to be joining me in just a little bit. I'm going to get everything connected. I see Brandon is here. So let me unmute him and we'll get all the connections going. Brandon Neely, what's up? Let's try that again. Brandon Neely, what's up, homeboy? Oh, I see. He's playing the strong silent type. Just getting here early. So I'm going to get this thing going live on Facebook.
There you go.
We'll launch into it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Getting the connections going here to get us live, and then we'll dive into it. Thank you for being here with me today. Appreciate it.
I'm looking forward to it.
And it looks like Zoom is cooperating again, as they should. Their stock is soaring since we can't do in-person meetings. Even our kids' school is now doing Zoom meetings. They're trying to figure it out, and I'm like, oh, guys, learn the mute button when you have 30 kids on Zoom.
One of our clients is actually works for GoToWebinar, and he's going to be good. Like his job is definitely secure.
Yeah. All right. So we are live. This is the Daily Bread Project. In a world full of darkness, we're bringing you the light daily, some nourishment to help your spirit lift you up. I have a guest with me today. I have Mr. Brandon Neely. He is the other half of Grandma's Wealth Wisdom. We had Amanda last week. Brandon, what is up, brother?
Hey, how's it going? Glad to be here.
It is going amazing. Well, I'm not. Look, the world is crazy, but what I tell people when they ask me how it's going when we're doing chats and things like that, I'm making the most of it.
Yeah.
That's a good, honest answer.
I think that is true. Being at least here doing, it's not business as usual, but how do we make do and how do we serve as many people as we can in the process?
So let's talk about that, brother. How are you making the most of it right now?
Well, I think, honestly, it's a really hard thing, and I've been through something similar. I don't know if I'd say similar, but
you've been through a pandemic that got you housebound before?
I've been through almost a shutdown. We went through a polar vortex. And that was in Chicago. I don't know if you know this. It snows sometimes. Yeah, you in Florida, maybe you don't experience it as much.
We have a different kind of snow, and it's usually down in Miami.
Yeah. Well, here, polar vortex was super, super, super cold for 3 months. And we experienced it wasn't a government shutdown or anything like that. People were not leaving their house for 3 months. This was I don't know, oh my gosh. It was a self-quarantine. And people were quarantining in their house because they didn't want to freeze to death, I guess. And how do you as a business overcome that obstacle? Because 3 months of people not going out and buying coffee affects you.
Yeah.
And so we had to think through strategically, what do we do different? How do we overcome this? And we just actually are recording a podcast of thinking back to what we did during those times. And it's hard going back to that pain, I guess you could say. But I think God brought us through that, and now we're using that to help others think through what is this pain and how are we going to overcome it.
Yeah. I remember Amanda said you guys launched a catering business while everybody was captive. You launched a catering business and capitalized.
We made some decent money from that because people were like, I'm not going to go out. We went out, and our catering increased. We didn't have the space as much as we'd hoped, but you work with what you got, and you do what you can with what you have, and you learn things that you didn't think were possible. And we were like, all right, let's make it happen. And so, 150, 200 sandwiches in a little small place. That was crazy, but we did it, and we made some money through that. We started school lunches because we were in a school. So then we did school lunches, making mac and cheese and all kinds of crazy stuff that a coffee shop doesn't normally do. Corn dogs, all kinds of stuff.
I love it. So what are you doing now? You said that during the polar vortex, you learned a lot about yourselves, learned a lot about your resilience. So what are you learning today as we're going through another kind of quarantine, lockdown, whatever you want to call it?
So I kind of think, again, what we do at Grandma's Wealth Wisdom is very, very even more valuable than anything. Cash and liquidity is huge. And the challenge I see from a business model is if people couldn't last a week, even big corporations couldn't last a week because they didn't have money in reserve. That's terrifying. Um, so I'm learning how important having liquidity and cash is, and it might not grow as fast or shrink. If you want to look on the other side, it might not shrink as fast either. Um, but having that is going to be in a better place. So for us, I'm fine. I really want to just serve my clients who are dealing with this. None of my clients have lost any money from the work I've done with them, which is awesome. Helping them get through this crisis. And how do we become stronger in this? So that's kind of what we're doing. A lot of reflection and reading, and thinking through. Okay, this is going to pass. How are we going to be stronger because of it?
What are you reading right now?
Well, I read a lot. This is a book that we were reminded of. It's called Everybody Matters. I don't know if it's backwards or not, but The Extraordinary Power of Caring for Your People Like Family. And it's co-author from the Conscious Capitalism guy who wrote Conscious Capitalism. And they wrote a piece specifically on how they overcame the Great Recession and what they did differently, how that played out. And I think this is a time to really look at, okay, companies that survived, but not only survived, thrived it. And I think that's a big deal as we go through this. We read this during the height of the up, and so you forget about it. But what's going to test us is how do we respond during times of crisis. This is what's going to show our true grit as people, as entrepreneurs. Are we retracting or are we expanding? Are we leading? I remember hearing yesterday your guy, the DM,
Mark Evans.
saying, yeah, and I was telling my wife about this, not letting people go. That's a huge decision, but maybe there's other things that you can personally retract, right? That our lifestyle might change a little bit, but I'm responsible for more than just me. And so as a business owner, what do we do? It's not business as usual right now.
That's something. So then what are you guys doing? What do you see? So are you doing the expansion thing? What's going on at Grandma's Wealth Wisdom?
Yeah. So because we've experienced this, people are in a fear state, I think, right now, and kind of just frozen. That frozen in place, but just kind of wait and see. And so we are launching online call where we're sharing wise words that maybe grandma um, would have said, or it does say about how to prosper ethically when the next crisis happens, because there will be other crises that happens. There will be other black swan events, if you know what black swan event is. Um, Not necessarily this big, hopefully never this big, but we don't know what's going to happen in our health. We don't know what's going to happen. Like I was from New Orleans. No one hopes for a hurricane. That was a black swan that was local to that area, but it affected the economy. The polar vortex affected Chicago. So things will happen. So what do we do financially to be prepared? And how do we get through this without, um, going into despair?
You said fear freezes people. How do you deal with fear? How do you keep from freezing up when all this is going on? Because everybody, I mean, people are sitting on their couches watching Netflix right now and binge watching and frozen in place eating Cheetos. How do you keep that from happening?
Well, I've had both of my parents have told me that the world is about to end, and that it's the end of the world as we know it. And I think it is the end of the world as we know it in some regards. Yes, systems are going to change. Um, However, they probably thought that, remember Y2K, people thought the end of the world was going to happen.
Yeah.
Uh, and I look historically, another book, God and Guinness. I think that's a really, really great book on a company that survived through a Great Depression, a potato famine, all kinds of things that they went through. And this is a 300-year-old company or more. I don't remember how old they are, but they went through this. And I bet you the Irish people thought the end of the world was coming. I mean, they've still not recovered fully from that. The Spanish flu, things will happen. I'm surprised this hasn't happened earlier, actually. So, will we recover from this? Yeah. Will it change us? Absolutely. Um, and so, knowing that the world as we know it is over, things have to be different, but it is not over, if that makes sense. Things are different. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah. Things are different. Well, I mean, sure. Things are always different after a big catastrophe, aren't they? Somehow,
Yeah.
some way, things are different. We're different, so we're also
Mhm.
different after this. And I think you believe, like I believe, that these are opportunities for growth. And so, what are some of the opportunities that you're seeing right now?
Well, I think going back to the stuff I do is so, so, so important. I think about the market, and a lot of people just love the market. And I was listening to Dave Ramsey just to see what he has to say about it. And he said this, and I thought this was really, really interesting. He said, stock market's going down is as artificial as it can be. Stock market's going down as artificial as it can be, and don't be freaking out. But I think on the flip side, stock market's going up is as artificial as it can be. And he didn't say that, but we've been in an artificial world in the past with the upswing, I think, and really thinking about, okay, building my net worth with real uh, cash flow versus fake assets or paper assets. And that's what your guy at the Financial Advisor podcast says. Like, it's about cash flow versus paper wealth. And I think, man, we're being challenged. So I'm thinking about, okay, liquidity is king right now, or liquidity is important. Um, how do I best position people for the next thing that will happen in their business? How do we make sure that, man, if something does happen in a business, you're okay? Like, we are fine because we've implemented profit first. We've went through these. We will overcome this.
I want you to share a little bit about that because you guys, I had this book on my on my Amazon list for a while, Profit First, and you guys sent it to me. And I told Amanda this, and I'll tell you this, that I believe that if you guys hadn't given me the push when you did, I might be suffering right now. But luckily, I put Profit First in place this first quarter, and we're totally prepared. And it's that combined with some other things that we've done over the
Mhm.
last year that Profit First was the icing on the cake. So why Profit First?
Well, as the entrepreneur, what they say is the um, business is a cash eating monster, right? It will always want more. And most businesses were on support of the banks, right? They were using credit to expand things and keep things operational, and credit to pay bills, credit to pay everybody, right? And again, when you have 2 days of being down, all of a sudden we're like, oh great, there's no sales coming through. Um, we can't pay, and I think that's a bad system, as we have seen. So Profit First is saying, okay, the entrepreneur needs to be paid first before everybody else. You minimize your operating expenses as a percentage. So the ideal way is 50% goes to um, owner's comp, 15 or 30% towards profit, 15% towards taxes, and 5% towards your profit account. Now, your profit account is used for the rainy day, and I think things are all being flipped aside, and things are challenging. But I've been putting money into my owner's compensation account, and making sure I'm not like overpaying myself, right? But I have 6 months of expenses ready to pay me. If I have no money coming in, I'm still good. I can still go through this. No money coming in, and I think the challenge is people didn't set up the system previously, and so they're
It
in
ain't
a
too late though. It ain't too late. You just have to refigure from ground zero.
yeah.
Like
And I think
the point is to start it. Like
yeah.
I want to stop here for a second, shine the light on this because the Profit First thing changed my life. I have
Mhm.
been running this business. It has been a cash eating monster, and I always had the guise of, well, I'm reinvesting. I'm reinvesting to grow the business. Well, what's going to grow me? Like, really, what's going
Yep.
to grow me? I need some cash in the bank. I need some runway. I need to pay taxes. I need to pay myself, and I need to have a profit. And if you're not doing that in your business right now, you're making a sad ass mistake and you might be out of business. That's fine. But learn the lesson today. Now
Exactly.
forward, pick up the book and start doing it. And we've got people on our team. I told all our writers about this, and some of them are implementing it. Anybody that will listen, I'm telling them, hey, reevaluate what you're doing. And actually, this was one of the things that Mark brought up. I don't know if he brought it up on the show, but he brought it up inside the DM family. Is like there's a lot of businesses that are starved for cash, and there's going to be opportunity, like big opportunity, to pick up businesses and add cash flow to yourself if you're in a
Yep.
position to do that. So, what are some of the other opportunities that you're seeing out there, Brandon?
Well, I think people are hurting right now. I think an opportunity really, it's not really, I don't want to see it as an opportunity, but it's just a place where we need to serve. We need to get out there. We need to help people. It's not about making a sale at this point. It's about just going out and um, being compassionate for people and saying, yeah, I've been there. I've experienced this. Um, Again, not to this magnitude, but our pain in the past. Maybe it's for me, I've been thinking a lot about this of maybe God had us go through that when I did not want it. So that way I could help people right now. I don't know. Um, and so that's kind of where I've been thinking a lot of, okay, was that experience that I don't want to relive? Is that for a reason? And so using that pain to help others at this point.
That's an interesting thought, and I actually I had a conversation with somebody about that on Messenger yesterday. because he follows Mark Evans, and he sent me a friend request. But he was talking about 2008 and how he was in real estate and how that put him out of business. And in fact, I went through the same thing. I
Hmm.
lost everything in 2008 because I was clearly I never learned, right?
Yeah.
I keep
Yeah.
repeating the same mistakes, but it didn't happen this time. But he talked about that past pain being something that he was using for a positive now, because he said, I sat out after that and I let myself go out of business. But right now, I'm taking what I learned because I missed that whole expansion period, and I'm going to expand right now. And so I like what you said there about taking that past pain, using it for growth, but using it to serve. And that's
Hmm.
what the Daily Bread project, I think part of it is about, is we're serving here. I got nothing to sell. I don't, and if I did, I'd be doing a bad job of it right now, because there's no CTAs, there's no commercials, there's no buy now. So what are some of the things that you're doing to serve?
Yeah, so we're hosting these live calls. If you go to grandmahope.eventbrite.com, grandmahope.eventbrite.com, we are really thinking about, okay, what do we do as business owners? Because you're having to make some hard choices right now. Um, do you, um, what do we do to survive this, to fight another day? Is this going to take you out? Is it a place of fear? And so we're really thinking about, okay, how do you then prosper ethically with this? So tomorrow we're having two calls. One, um, well, this is specifically for business owners, independent contractors, and self-employed. And again, we all understand that we're working from home. We get that that's happening, but what do we do about it? That's a different conversation. Like, we could be looking and saying, "Oh, look at CNN, look at all the news, and is Trump going to help us or hurt us? Who knows? I don't know." But what do we do about it, and how do we um, overcome this? And so this is something that we are doing, and then we have next week a call for individuals and families that we are saying, okay, as a family, you were maybe employed and now you're not. um, I think it's gonna get worse before it gets better. But what are we if we're the backbone of the economy, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna wallow in this, or are we gonna actually stand up and fight? Um, and so that's kind of what we're doing on this Thursday. I encourage everybody, jump in, think about your finances now. Don't just be in fear.
Why can't you just stick
Um,
your head in the sand then while everything's going down? Why can't you just like take cover?
I mean, look at what people were doing that in 2006 and 7 and 8, and look at where it's gotten us. Really, if you think about it from a business perspective and people not being aware of this, I think um, the I do. People say, "Well, don't look at your 401ks." Look, I mean, honestly, the reason they say that is because, man, our health system's already in despair. Like, you look at your 401k and you go in the hospital because of a heart attack, that sucks. Um, but look at it in a right place, in a healthy place. And what are you going to do different? I mean, you think about podcasting, right? Everybody that when I listen to podcasts, they say, well, where were you at in 2008? And this story has defined people. And I think, I was saying this about 3 months ago. I was like, we're going to say next, where were you at in the next, when
2020.
this happened? And we didn't know it was 2020. I just said 3 months ago that we would say something. And this is going to be a defining moment for a lot of people. And in 10 years, we're not going to say, where were you at in 08? We're going to say, where were you at in March of 2020? And we're all going to know where we were at.
You were
And
at on the Daily Bread, so we know
yeah,
that.
I was moving, man. I moved to another state, and I was like driving here, and I'm like, okay, are they going to let us into the state, or are they going to stop us in another Indiana and not let us go through? I don't know. Um, but anyway,
What are some of the things you're doing to stay positive, to protect your headspace?
yeah, I think listening to other people listening to stuff like this, reading this book again, Everybody Matters, um, and looking and saying, okay, what did other people do to overcome this? This is not it's not normal, but it's not like it's, things haven't ever happened to people. um, we've all had experiences, and so there's either the defeated or the people that are going to step up and help. And so being the answer, being empathetic, but just getting on the phone, talking to people, I think that's huge. So that's how I'm staying positive. There's nothing I can control out there. I can control myself. um, Even when business is hurting in other ways, I can control if I don't go outside, even if he decides to open up the country in 2 weeks. I have those decisions. And so those are things I'm doing. And those are things that I think are helpful, right?
And the other thing that we like to talk about here is how are you staying productive? You're stuck at home. Well, I don't think anything's changed for you. You were always working from home like me, so it's not a
Yeah.
huge deal. Other than for us, it's just some slight changes with the kid being home. But how are you staying productive, or how are you even more productive now?
Yeah. So the challenging thing is we moved during this, so I had to like build up and change things and still go and um, make sure the dryer works and all kinds of things. So I think I'm now back into productive mode. Still recording podcasts, whether people listen or not. We're thinking through what do we do. We have some videos that were coming out that we recorded about a month ago that maybe they're outdated already, and I haven't even released them. But we were anticipating volatility in the market. I didn't think it was going to be this bad, um, but what do we do different on that? So those are things we're doing. I have, I think, 3 lives today. I've been doing a lot more lives. Whether people listen or not, I don't know, but I want to be present for people and calling them. Uh, the the funny thing is, the excuse before was I can't answer the phone because I'm too busy at work and at these places. Now the excuse is I can't do anything because it's I don't know, but they're available. They're on the phone. They can answer the phone. So I'm going to call people and say I'm here. People will always make excuses for things, and for me, I'm not about making excuses. It's another thing of thinking, take 100% responsibility for everything, um, and that's what I'm doing, is saying, okay, yes, this happened, take the lumps, take responsibility. Where did we play a part in this whole thing?
Yeah, I like that. Where do I fit into this? That was I had a feeling of helplessness last Monday, and that's why we launched the Daily Bread. Was I feel helpless? What's my part in this? And I want to, as we're closing, we've had a guest commenting. I don't know her personally. Maybe she's from your tribe, Lori Whitney. We have to get more creative and keep sharing the love. And I really like that idea of sharing the love with so much darkness, with so much out there that is just beating you down and trying to bring you down together. These, I mean, your your 401k is down, people are dying, whatever it is. That's what we're being hit with. And how do we fight back? Share the love. And that's what we're doing here on the Daily Bread Project, is bringing you light, bringing you love, bringing you positivity, so that you know it's out there, so that somebody's bringing it. So anything, Brandon, thank you for your time today. Most generous. You're always a great supporter. Brandon is from the Grandma's Wealth Wisdom podcast. He's part of the Podcast Factory family, has been for a couple years, him and Amanda. Anything you want to say as we're wrapping up?
I think this is going to be a defining moment for us. We all have a part to play in this. That as a community, we're told stay home, right? Because of the spread, right? So we all have parts to play. Every one of us matters. Read these books. Like, again, Everybody Matters. Again, read that. On page 99 is what he talks about with the what he did during the collapse of 2008. Be a learner. Go and register for this call that Amanda and I are putting together. She's a lot better of a teacher than I am, so and a lot more, I guess, compassionate. I don't know, but go to grandmaswealthwisdom.com/hope or grandmahope.eventbrite.com and register. Like, we're here to serve. Those are things we're doing, and learn from the mistakes of the past. If you can do anything, learn from your own mistakes, learn from the mistakes of others. So that way, when we get, if this is leveling us off as we move forward, man, what do we do different? How are we going to be a different people because of it?
Yeah, use this as a springboard for growth. All right, Brandon, thank you very much. Thank you for your generosity, brother. I always appreciate you. I always appreciate your support. grandmaswealthwisdom.com/hope, or just grandmaswealthwisdom.com for more of Brandon and Amanda's sage advice. Thank you, everyone. This is the Daily Bread Project. We'll be back next time.